Welcome back to Umineko, part 10 of episode 1. Now, we've been on quite a roller coaster here these past couple episodes. The episode 8 made me rage hard with the Natsuhi Happy Fun Times, or the opposite of. Made me get real mad at Kraus. Feel really bad for Natsuhi. Not in a good way there. And then, immediately afterwards, in episode 9, or chapter 9, part 9, whatever you want to call it, we get a nice happy proposal scene. We were just going up and down here, getting the whiplash of the full spectrum of emotions. So what will this one bring? I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. The one main point I did want to make about last episode was the whole, they keep saying everything's going down tonight. Tonight's when things are happening. But then with Shannon and George, it's the whole, oh, give me an answer tomorrow. I'll wait for you tomorrow. That's when you can tell me your true feelings. Those are some big red flags there. Big red flags. So yeah, not sure what to think about that, but I'm not hopeful. I'm not going to get my hopes up there because, the flags have been set. We'll see how it plays out. All right. Part 10, let us begin. Shannon entered the entrance hall to the mansion with a tottering gate. A mixture of exultation and uncertainty gave her a feeling that she couldn't easily describe. It swelled up in her chest until it felt like she was about to burst. Oh, I was literally just saying I'd really like to know what Shannon's feelings are during last scene. Maybe we'll get a little bit insight to it now if we're in Shannon's point of view. After stopping for a second in front of the servant room to take a deep breath and calm her heart, she opened the door. Inside, Goda, who had been ordered to take the midnight shift at the mansion tonight, was absorbed in a worn-out crossword puzzle magazine. He looked up for an instant to see if one of the family had come, but when he realized it was a fellow servant, he returned to his puzzle as if nothing had happened. That's not true. I don't think it is. Did she really just come here because she was embarrassed to go back to the guest house, and now she's lying to Goda about it? Yeah. They'll probably tell you to go lock up. You go work. I'm gonna do my crossword puzzle and chill. I don't like Goda's smile. He looks like a fucking prick like that. Shannon was slightly disgusted. Ooh. Even though she'd come here to help out as a favor, she was casually being forced to do the job of the person actually on duty. I feel like every interaction we see of Goda with the other servants is just him being a dick. Like, that's just how he treats them. And I know they explain that, he's from a really fancy, place where he could use the full extent of his abilities, and here he's just cooking for a tiny family, and he's upset about that, but damn does he fucking resent the other staff hardcore. Furthermore, after one-sidedly forcing that task on her, Goda returned to his magazine once again and became immersed in his crossword puzzle. Poor Shannon. Shannon bowed her head as a token of sign of respect for her elder, then left the room to patrol the mansion. Thanks to her being a bit ticked off, she managed to suppress that floaty feeling she'd been having until just now. Well, the floaty feeling's not bad. I'd probably prefer that over being ticked off. And anyway, she couldn't let Genji or Kanon see her looking like this. She wanted a little time to herself until her heart calmed down, so maybe going on patrol wouldn't be so bad. She began to hear the tumultuous voices of the family discussion coming from the dining hall. Ooh, we're going to hear a bit through the door? Someone was speaking at great length, only to be interrupted by someone else. This second person also began to speak in a very long, drawn-out fashion, until yet another person interrupted. That kept on repeating. It was as though their displeasure was seeping out through their voices. She had been told to go to the guest house, so it would be bad if Kraus discovered her. Thinking this, Shannon dashed past the dining hall. Then she went along a prearranged route through the dark mansion, checking that all the locks were secure. Now, we don't know why Kanon wanted all the other... I mean, they did give us the explanation that maybe he doesn't trust everyone, and I guess that's plausible. That he just doesn't like the three that have crests, the three that are on Kinzo's side, Kinzo's special workers. Doesn't trust them at all. She walked down the hall, checking each window. There were no humans on Rokkenjima other than those connected to the family, so locking up didn't really serve much of a purpose. No one had been in the habit of locking up at the Ushiromiya head family, at least not until Natsuhi had scolded them for being careless. So they used to always just keep them completely unlocked. The metal fixtures on the windows were ice cold, and as she checked them one by one, the glow in her heart seemed to cool down. Huh? Oh? Butterflies? Oh ho ho, what? They were like glowing orange? At that time, she thought she saw something twinkling across the hall. Twinkling? How could anything be twinkling through the darkness of the hall? She figured she must have been imagining it, but she still held her breath. Grasping a curtain, she fearfully gazed down the hall. However, other than the occasional crack of thunder brightening the hallway, she was unable to glimpse any flicker again. It must have been her imagination, after all. Maybe her heart was so agitated that she'd seen something that didn't even exist. Shannon went back to check the windows. However, a certain unnerving memory was resurrected in the back of her mind. It was that ghost story, which had been passed down amongst the servants who served the Ushiromiya family household. Head family. The mansion had two different masters. One of the day, and one of the night. Oh yeah. Beatrice, the master of the night, would sometimes fly around the mansion in the form of sparkling butterflies. That was the story. Come to think of it, didn't Kanon-kun once say he'd seen it with his own eyes? Though he got sulky when I said he must have imagined it and refused to believe him. Could it possibly be true? The roar of the thunder gave no answer. Huh. That was random. That just came out of nowhere. Okay, we back to the guest house then? Where are we at? We're in the rain. Is this, George heading back? Oh. Making our way. Isn't this the main house? Yeah. Thought so. Where are we going? Someone's walking. Whose point of view are we in right now? We hitting midnight? The clock just struck midnight? Everyone's talking. Or screaming. Interesting. We're getting a whole overview of where everyone is. This is the guest house staff room. Where have you been? We haven't seen you in forever, Kumasawa. Very interesting. Just got a whole overview of everyone's placement. Achievement unlocked. 24:00 midnight. Okay. Something just started. Midnight just happened and something just started. That was weird. Yeah. Oh, what? We just go forward 6 hours? Okay. The second day, October 5th. Interesting. Okay. Clock struck midnight. We heard footsteps as someone was walking through the rainy garden up into the main house and stopping at the portrait. And as the clock is dinging away, we see everyone. We see everyone's placement one by one, where they are. In the house and the guest house. Staff, Kinzo, family. And now we just fast forward 6 hours. I'm going to make a guess and say that something happened during those 6 hours. And we're going to find the result of it. I don't know if that's going to be like a body or something. Maybe. Maybe pay attention here as to who we see and who's missing. I always thought since the beginning this is going to be like a murder mystery type thing. So we keep waiting for like someone to get killed off or something. Now where's Rudolph? That's my question. Show me Rudolph, because he was the one who said, I'm probably not going to live till tomorrow. So where is Rudolph? And if he's fine, who else is missing? I feel like something definitely happened during this 6 hours, and we're going to see the aftermath of it. Genji tightened his bow tie and looked around outside through the crack in the curtains. Maybe the rain had died down a tiny bit since the previous night. But the thick rain clouds didn't seem like they'd be letting in any trace of the morning sun. The morning was dim and far from refreshing.
やはり今日いっぱいはやみそうにないか。
お待たせしました、源氏様。
Kanish finished checking his appearance and exited the washroom. On their normal schedule, it was rare for anyone to have to suffer going straight from a midnight shift to an early morning shift. They were on a special schedule for the 2 days of the family conference. However, unless the typhoon passed today, the relatives' stay on this island would last until tomorrow. Cannon thought it would be best to prepare for the special schedule to last an extra day. It doesn't look much better, that's for sure. The two of them left the guest house, opening their umbrellas. The rose garden had been devastated by the wind and rain on the previous night. Oh, it was so great too. Probably looks like shit now, that sucks. Even though they'd spent several days making it beautiful to welcome the guests, one stormy night was enough to ruin it. Cannon sighed. The two headed for the mansion. They were supposed to meet up with Goda and prepare breakfast. Goda was such a perfectionist that he had probably already woken up and was probably already preparing a breakfast as exquisite and elegant as glasswork. They reached the overhang by the entrance to the mansion and folded up their umbrellas. Genji took a bundle of several keys from his pocket and unlocked the front door. The Ushiromiya family mansion was the only thing on Rokkenjima, so in the past they hadn't been in the habit of locking up. However, Natsuhi had ordered that the mansion be locked up from midnight to early morning. Okay. Ever since then, unlocking the door in the early morning had become part of the servants' morning shift. This task had been given to Genji and Cannon, so that Goda could start preparing breakfast as soon as he woke up. Silence had fallen in the mansion, giving the impression that the mansion itself was still asleep. Silence aside from the rain, of course.
はい。
The two of them split up and began opening the curtains throughout the mansion. If the curtains stayed closed, the mansion would remain enveloped in faint darkness, as though it was still trapped in the previous night. Ah, there you go. Following a well-rehearsed procedure, Cannon went around the mansion opening the curtains for one window after another, without having to retrace his steps once. Even with this horrible weather, drawing the curtains made it feel just a little bit like morning. While doing that, he passed in front of the kitchen. Even though he hadn't smelled anything yet, his stomach started aching for some of Goda's prized cooking. Oh, does Goda feed the rest of the staff too? I hadn't thought about that actually. What? He tried to greet Goda, who should have been getting breakfast ready, but Goda was nowhere to be seen. Okay. The kitchen was darkly lit, and not only were there curtains not open, but the fan wasn't even running. What I was saying at the start of the episode, now I'm looking for every little thing that's out of the ordinary, and I'm like, oh shit, you're dead, or you're dead. Or not the start of the episode, but the start of the scene change. I'm waiting for that murder mystery to start and someone to be dead. Did I read the last line? Yeah, okay. It was still cold without any trace of a fire being lit, so of course there were no signs of breakfast being made either. Though it would have been inexcusable, perhaps Goda had overslept. Even servants are only human. They sometimes sleep in and show up late. In the rare case that such a thing happens, it's part of a servant's code to hide the unsightly scene before anyone notices, smoothly covering it up, and make sure the family never even realizes that anything has gone wrong. Right. Cannon took the receiver of the phone that had been fitted to the wall and dialed the number for the extension line in the servant's sleeping room. It's going to be no one. He couldn't hear that characteristic sound of a dial tone. Oh, the phone's not working. Cannon tried picking up the receiver again, but even so, he couldn't hear the usual dial tone. He tried dialing again, but it had no apparent effect. What? Why the... Oh, okay. Well, that's plausible, yeah. Could the lightning last night have damaged some machine breaking down the extension line? Sure. Could be. The equipment in the mansion was all worn out. Kennen fully understood that even the smallest thing could have caused it to break down. He gave up trying to wake Goda with the phone and dashed over to the servant's sleeping room. Uh-huh. Oh? Who was this? How long has it been since I stopped sleeping and started lazily staring up at the ceiling? That vague sense of awakening was part of Natsuhi's usual morning experience. Oh, okay, it's Natsuhi. She always slept lightly and couldn't sleep at all without medicine. Ugh. To Natsuhi, sleep was definitely not a happy thing. When she looked outside, she saw that it was still pouring. If she hadn't sensed a tiny amount of light, she might have mistakenly thought that it was still the previous night. She herself was one of the hosts, so she mustn't wake up later than her guests. Urging herself on, she raised up her body, which still hadn't completely recovered from yesterday's weariness. Oh, look at this room. Interesting. So no sleeping with Kraus at the very least. Looks like you have your own room. No one would torment her as long as she remained inside this room. And her headache wouldn't get any worse here. Huh. This room was the only place she could find peace. So when she left, it meant returning to the world where her husband's siblings kept trying to stab each other in the back. It sounds like a stressful place to be, if I'm going to be honest. In that case, wouldn't it be better to just stay locked up in this room forever? That ridiculous notion brought a bitter smile to Natsuhi's face. She was starting to sound like Kinzo. Oh boy. Oh god. Yeah? Though she often complained about Kinzo staying locked up in his own room and refusing to attend to everyone else, the truth was that she longed to do the same. Maybe understand a little bit how he feels? Or how someone could get to that point? Be able to empathize, sympathize a bit with someone who wants to remain locked up and away from everyone else? Natsuhi gave her head a small shake, and her fantasy was replaced by the reawakening of her usual headache. Man. When she reached for the doorknob, trying to leave the room, her hand touched the scorpion charm that she had hung from it before going to sleep the previous night. Oh, it was Maria's charm, which Natsuhi had received from Jessica. Didn't Jessica say something about it having the power to repel magic? Telling her to hang it from the doorknob? Maybe it was thanks to that charm that at least this room had been protected from the malice of her husband's siblings. As she thought this, her mood began to get a little more cheerful. Then Natsuhi remembered. That's right. Last night I promised Jessica that I'd give her a charm of my own in exchange for this one, didn't I? I want to know what that is. Natsuhi opened a drawer on her dresser and took out an antique accessory case that she had treasured when she was a child. Inside there were many small objects that Natsuhi had thought were valuable at the time. From amidst those, she pulled out a red pouch. Inside was a small, round mirror about 10 centimeters across. It looked quite old, but the design on the back of the mirror was very ornate, and it felt like something with historical value. At the very least, it seemed much more authentic than the other charm, which looked like a plastic scorpion keychain. She had heard that this was a spiritual mirror for warding off evil spirits, and she had been given it especially by her grandmother when her grandfather's mementos had been distributed. It had been believed since long ago that a strange power resided in this mirror. Perhaps people thought it could reflect calamity and malice in the same way it reflected light. See, I don't know if this is going to be like real stuff or not. There's always that question: is what are we hearing right now that's just there for flavor, or not even just flavor, but what's there? Are we just hearing, you know, for the sake of history and so we know the past behind the mirror? Or is it really going to be something real? If this show brings in magic and supernatural stuff, could this actually be something the mirror is capable of? Or is it just, you know, a memento? I don't know. I don't know where we draw that line, where we consider things, you know, plausible or not. So it'll be interesting to see what comes back as something real. And what's just there for the sake of, you know, the story and not actually meant to be some supernatural object or anything. If I had to guess one way or the other, I'm going to just say the mirror is going to be some way to connect with Jessica and it's not actually going to ward off evil or something. That's what I would assume. Natsuhi returned the mirror to its pouch. It would probably be a fitting object to hand over to Jessica. Just as she was placing it in her pocket, the sound of someone knocking on the door suddenly echoed throughout the room.
Hi.
おはようございます、奥様。源氏でございます。早朝から申し訳ございません。
今行きます。何事ですか?
No servant had ever come to her this early in the morning, nor had they come to wake her in person. Perhaps something bad had happened. Maybe some fatal oversight that had been made while preparing breakfast. Something that would shame the household in front of their guests. I mean, Goda not being around could be that. Could happen. Could lead to it. Natsuhi took a deep breath in anticipation for whatever troubles she was about to hear of. When she opened the door, Genji once again gave a morning greeting while bowing deeply. Natsuhi tentatively responded.
おはようございます。何かありましたか?
申し訳ございません。
Okay, just talking about that.
内線電話が普通になっておりますもので、直接のお伺いになってしまったことをお許しください。
内線電話が普通? それは面倒になりましたね。修理は可能ですか?
残念ながら故障箇所がわかりません。後で業者を呼んで修理させたいと思います。ということは、この台風が過ぎるまでは修理不能ということですか?
I just realized that the telephone's not working is going to come up and be a big issue later, I'm sure. When bad things start happening, we no longer have a way to communicate between rooms without physically going to someone. That's going to be a problem, isn't it? That's going to be a shit show. Ooh, I didn't think about that till right now.
つまり、客人たちの滞在中はずっと普通ということですね。客人たちのお世話に支障は?
Should still be okay in that regard.
最善を尽くします。
結構です。粗相のないようよろしく頼みます。
Natsuhi let out a small sigh of relief. Yeah, it could have been worse. Definitely could have been worse news behind that door. She prepared for the worst, but damage to the telephones wasn't the kind of trouble she was worried about. Then again, even this would probably be enough to spark sarcasm from Eva. Natsuhi gave her head a light shake.
朝食の準備は順調ですか?
Are they? Don't think so.
それが
Oh god.
女の姿が見えません。朝食の支度もまだ行われています。
That's not what she wanted to hear.
何
Oh,
ですって?
Natsuhi was indignant. To her, this was a much bigger problem than the phones not working. And despite that, this piece of information was the part that had been postponed. Why did everything go well most of the time, and then come to something like this when the relatives were visiting? Natsuhi put her hand to her forehead and shook her head.
大方朝寝坊でもしているのでしょう。
What? Huh? What? Natsuhi exited into the hall and turned around for a second to close the door to her room. What? The creepy thing she saw there silenced her completely. What? I don't see anything. Are we supposed to be able to see it or not? It was an unpleasant sight, as though someone had dipped their fingers in a reddish-black liquid and scratched at the door around the doorknob. What the fuck? Did they just decide to not put it into the CG? I guess? We use our imaginations? It was probably some sort of awful prank, arranged by some person who wanted to make it look as though they had tried to force the door with bloody hands. I wish we could have seen that visual. I was confused for a second. Yeah, that's not nice. That's... Although I'm not sure, bet it's not a prank. Something's going on. I doubt it. I mean, I'm sure, I don't blame you for thinking that's the case. I'm sure you think Ava did it with a fucking smirk on her face, because who would be surprised? But, that's probably not what's going on here. Natsuhi had a pretty good idea, but of course there was no proof. So even if she pushed the issue, it would just seem as though she was making a fuss about nothing. In fact, it would surely be better to act as though she hadn't even realized that such a prank had been played on her. Natsuhi gave the order to have it cleaned and headed off to the parlor with the squeak of her heels. The Natsuhi bully never ends. Stop it. Please stop it. When Natsuhi and Genji arrived at the parlor, Ava and Hideyoshi were already there.
Ohayo gozaimasu, minasan.
Ohayo, Natsuhi-san. 朝食もゴーダさんが作るっちゅう朝から胃袋が大喜びで騒ぎっぱなしなんや。
本家の楽しみは食事くらいがせいぜいですものね。
Fuck off. Just fuck off. Jesus. Everything with you?
エヴァさんも朝からご機嫌がよろしいようで何よりです。
With a weary expression, Natsuhi returned Ava's gaze, which was fiercely competitive despite the early hour. Then Cannon jogged in. After bowing in apology to the relatives for the running inside the mansion, he noticed Genji and told him something in a small voice.
Kanon, ゴーダはまだ見つからないのですか?
申し訳ございません、奥様。お屋敷内もゲストハウスも回ったのですが、まだ。
Oh man.
一体どこへ行ったというのです。とりあえず今はゴーダより朝食の準備が先決です。至急対応しなさい。
はい。
Cannon glanced at Genji. It seemed he had something else to report, but was uncertain whether or not the word should come from him. Genji nodded and decided to give the report himself. What? What? Multiple people?
主人が?
Did Kraus finally get his comeuppance? Is Kraus gonna be dead? Let Kraus be dead.
奥様より先に旦那様に朝食の準備がないことをご報告しようと思い、寝室それから旦那様だけではありません。
Wait, there's more? What?
ルドルフ様ご夫妻とローザ様
Whoa, okay. What? Rudolph, Kitty, Rosa, Kraus, and Goda. 5 people. What the hell?
ゲストハウ
Oh!
スにも
Wait. Okay. There's one more missing. There has to be, right? If there's going to be 6, we know 5. Chosen by the key as sacrifices. What? Okay. All right. If there's one more missing, if we're going on this right now, if we're relating characters gone to the riddle, to the steps of the riddle on each twilight, right? Currently missing Kraus, Rudolph, Kitty, Goda, and Rosa. 5. That's 5 gone. Now we're gonna lose one more. Whoops. I wanted to look at this thing again. You know what? Yeah, so 6 chosen as sacrifices. We're gonna figure out there's one more missing. And then tonight, those who remain shall tear apart the 2 who are close. Is that who I think it is? Because we just had a proposal last night. Those who remain shall tear apart George and Shannon. Then those who remain shall praise my noble name. We know there are characters that aren't using their real names, like Cannon and Shannon. And then head, chest, stomach, knee, and leg. I don't know if those 5 parts refer to 5 people in some way. Maybe once we see who's gone, we can somehow narrow it down and figure out who would match with each of these words. Head, chest, stomach, knee, and leg. Not really sure how. I mean, head of the family, head heir. I mean, there's lots of things a head could mean. The rest, I'm not so sure. At least right now. Shannon's got a tattoo on her leg, but I don't think that's... Alright. Sorry, I didn't mean to stop for this long. I just really wanted to look at... This is like a big revelation. And I kind of wanted to re-examine the riddle a bit. And maybe we'll do it again at the end of the episode if we figure out anything more. But right now, I'm taking the missing people and I'm fitting them into this riddle just because it's the only thing I can think of to do. And it could be completely wrong, but it kind of feels like maybe that's what's going on here. But that means that someone has the key, you know? And the key has chosen these 6 sacrifices. Okay. Let's see what's going on here with these missing people. We got 5 gone. Right? Did I read that right? We got 5. No Kraus. No Rudolph. No Kitty. No Rosa. And no Goda. Okay, yeah, 5.
はい。ゲストハウスの部屋にもおられません。
But we only know those are missing. They would, I guess, if they realized a lot of people were missing, they would have checked on everyone else. So there should be a 6th person missing, but there isn't. When she'd heard that Goda alone was missing, she assumed he had slept in or was loafing around somewhere. However, now that she'd learned of several of the relatives were also nowhere to be seen, she began to take a slightly more optimistic view. Could last night's family conference have continued all nights up until the present moment? If so, they might have wanted to cool their heads after being shut in a stuffy room, going out for walks on their own through the rain. The part about cooling their heads really sounded like something Kraus would say. Goda had probably been summoned to accompany them and aid them in some way. Goda was not a man who lost track of time. He had to understand that preparations for breakfast would be hindered if he did not return. However, maybe the family conference had continued until this very moment, with an atmosphere that would make it hard for anyone to slip out. Yes, that theory would be quite convincing for Natsuhi. She remembered the illusion she'd felt that morning, as though the previous night had never ended. When she learned that the feeling wasn't just an illusion, she once again took a deep weary breath. After all, that banquet of filthy vultures circling Kinzo's property was still going on.
大方、庭園のどこか、あるいは海岸の方で相も変わらず遺産の話を繰り返しているのでしょう。とにかくゴーダを呼び戻さなくては、いつまでも朝食の準備が整いません。
I bet Ava and Hideyoshi would be pretty upset if everyone else was off talking about it without them, I bet. And what does Ava and Hideyoshi have to say about the end of the talks? Like, they'd be able to say, yeah, we all finished, we all split up and went to our rooms.
ってことはなんや、兄さんたちの話し合いはまだ続いとるんか。
She had planned to say it in a small voice, but Hideyoshi overheard Natsuhi and managed to grasp the situation.
兄さんもルドルフもタフね。ローザの場合は若さかしら。私たち夕べの24時過ぎにはもう眠くてベッドに戻らせてもらったんだけど。
Bit after midnight, okay.
確かにあの時点でもまだ兄さんたちは
Ah,
熱
so
を
they
交
did
わ
leave
してた
before
わ
it。was over. Gotcha.
男って熱くなると嫌ね。
Natsuhi snorted, her face still blank.
カノン、表を探してらっしゃい。ゴーダを見つけたらすぐに戻って朝食の準備をするよう伝えなさい。
かしこまりました。
夏日姉さん、表とは限らないわよ。
Well, we know they aren't inside, at least.
お父様の書斎ってことはないかしら。
That would be strange.
なるほど。考えられん話やない。
Unlikely, possible, yeah.
どう
Unlikely.
いう話の流れかはわからんが、お父さんの主催に場所を移して、お父さんにも混じってもらって議論を続けてるっちゅう可能性は十分あるやろ。
そのような汚らわしい話題を好んで、お父様が書斎へ招き入れることなど考えられません。あらそう。じゃあ仕方ないわね。源氏さんとカノン君は申し訳ないけど、外を探してきてちょうだい。確かに兄さんなら頭を冷やすために外を散歩しようなんて言い出しても不思議はないわ。たとえこんな天気でもね。私はお父様の書斎に行ってくるわ。ひょっとするとそこにいるかもしれないしね。 客人であるエヴァさんにそこまでのご足労はおかけできません。私が行ってきます。朝のご挨拶も兼ねて。
あら、じゃあお願いするわね。でも朝の挨拶を交わしてくれるかは疑う。夏日姉さんって。
Well, if he doesn't return your greeting, that also means the rest of them aren't in there. Because they would hear her too.
仲が良いかは分かりかねますが、後宮家の跡継ぎの妻を許されるだけの信頼を得ていると確信しています。
ならきっと返事くらいはしてくれるわね。お父様とは朝食くらいご一緒したいの。
Yeah, I don't think that's happening.
ぜひ降りてきてくださるよ。説得してくれないかしら。私たちはすっかり嫌われちゃってるみたいだけど、そこまで信頼を得ている夏日姉さんの言うことなら聞いてくれそうですもの。
Alright, Ava. Chill. We know what you're
そこま
doing.
で短歌を切ってお父様を説得できず、一人で降りてきて
What? All that she said was that she would check that he trusts her a little bit.
信頼を得ているなんて二度と言えないかもね。
No one else was able to get him down. Why the fuck would you assume that Natsuhi would be able to just because she said, "Fuck you, Ava"? That's the dumbest thing you ever said right here on screen. That's not at all what happened. Why the fuck are you spewing bullshit out of your mouth?
自信はありませんが、努力はします。
Natsuhi responded, looking discouraged. However, knowing Kinzo's temperament, she had absolutely no confidence in her ability to bring him out. Ava was clearly mocking her, confident that Natsuhi wouldn't be able to get Kinzo to come down. Even so, Natsuhi would lose face if she gave up, saying it was impossible, and letting Ava go instead. Ava's mean-spirited and unreasonable demand made Natsuhi clench her fists slightly. Ooh, I want to see it happen. I want to see Kinzo just be like, yeah, alright. Come down. Just to see fucking Ava's face. Oh, that would be great. When Genji realized this, he softly spoke to her over the shoulder. You want to come and help?
奥様、よろしければこれをお持ちください。
Oh?
それは
Oh, is it the key to his room? Ah. The study had an auto lock and couldn't be unlocked as long as Kinzo forbade entrance. However, since Genji was especially trusted by Kinzo, he was allowed to carry a key to that door. Wow. You're really giving that to her. Kinzo trusted you with that. How's he going to feel if Natsuhi has it? If he knows that you gave it to her and she just barges in?
でもこの鍵を使ったら、あなたも咎めを受けるのではありませんか。
親方様は深くお休みになられている時、
Oh.
扉を叩く。それに
They just passed out from the
親方
alcohol?
様にお部屋を出ていただくよう説得するには、扉越しでは難しゅうございましょう。ぜひ。
源氏。
Best boy Genji coming through. Oh my god. Until now, Natsuhi had thought of Genji as a cold servant who wouldn't do anything for her since he worked directly under Kinzo. But it looked like she would have to alter her understanding of him. She wanted to communicate her gratitude, but by then Genji had already turned his back on her and was walking down the corridor with Cannon. But as Natsuhi watched them go, the words directed at her from behind were sneering. Ugh. Say more, bitch.
お父様を必ず連れてきてね。息子の可愛い嫁の言うことですもの。きっと聞いてくれるわよ。
Oh my god, shut up.
私たちは客人だから、ここでのんびりくつろがせてもらうわ。
Shut up.
予算かえば口が過ぎるで。
You should have told her that 5 minutes ago.
すまんが夏日姉さん、お父さんのことをよろしく頼むわ。
After all that excitement the previous night, there was no way anyone was going to wake up early. George, Aniki, Jessica, and I. Oh wait, what are we at? 50 minutes? Oh, we just switched scenes. Sorry. Sorry about that. I will end it here because we're at 50 minutes and this could go on quite a while longer. Yeah. Okay, so what happened this episode? Aunt Ava was being a bitch. What else is new? Okay. We've got some missing people. That's big. That's crazy. Like I said, I kept waiting for someone to show up dead. Like, we turned the corner and suddenly there'd be like a body on the ground, blood all over the floor, and it'd be like, oh my god, who done it? But no, we just have a large group, 5 people gone now that we've woken up. Interesting. Now, if Kinzo's gone, I bet no one's confirmed that Kinzo's around. Kinzo could be the 6th. Kinzo could be gone. That would be interesting. And then we know all 6. I guess we'll have to see what Natsuki finds when she goes up. I'm worried she's going to open up that door with the key and there's going to be no one there. It's going to be empty. And then we've confirmed the first 6. And like I was saying, I feel like Shannon and George are the ones, quote-unquote, torn apart by those who remain on the second Twilight. They gotta be the 2 who are close. I don't know who else it would be. Interesting. Gouge the head and kill. Gouge the chest and kill. Oof, I don't know. Alright. Very interesting. Cool, cool. Things are getting heated. Alright, I will see you guys next episode. Thank you for listening in. Thank you for watching. And catch you next time.